USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Mott's Applesauce. So you're looking for a snack your kid will love and you can feel great about? Give him a Mott's no sugar added applesauce pouch. Made from real, delicious apples and a good source of vitamin C, too. Perfect for tossing in a lunchbox or grabbing for on the go. Mott's. Real apples make real good applesauce. Learn more about Mott's no sugar added applesauce at motts.com.
Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation news from across the nation. This is the week of July 28th, 2025, and it is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops, Richard Childress Racing, and the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Thank you for your support of this program. This week, we're covering the Pennsylvania Board and Game Commissioners implementing Sunday hunting and what the results were of that meeting yesterday on the 29th. Yesterday, as this podcast publishes. Shark Act introduced in the Senate. Nebraska considers increasing their mountain lion harvest. Wyoming Game and Fish Commission rejects landowner tag revisions. Delaware knife rights legislation heads to the governor's desk. And finally, we wrap it up with a report on a CSF Southern Legislative Forum and reception for NASC members that was hosted by our members. All that and more, but let us get to our top story here. Obviously, we've been celebrating the passage of Sunday hunting rollbacks and Governor Shapiro signing that into law recently. So here's the now what. How does the Board of Commissioners go through and PGC implement this? So as I said, there was a meeting that was held, and a correction, it was held on Monday of this week, on the 28th. And the results were basically all the Sundays during the deer season, during the hunting seasons of 2025 will be open and available to hunt. We were definitely involved. Obviously, as a past reporting, we've been involved for nearly 2 decades on this, and that didn't stop with us, CSF, submitting our absolute support and encouraging the full implementation of Sunday hunting for the 2025-2026 hunting season. The Board of Game Commissioners unanimously voted to approve a resolution encouraging the executive director of PGC, past guest Steve Smith, to implement his executive order powers to extend seasons, allowing the implementation of Sunday hunting for the 2025-2026 deer season and small game season. Additionally, other species will have Sunday hunting implemented for the 2025-2026 hunting seasons within the regulated seasons, except for migratory game birds, which we've talked about. That's directed by a federal nexus and timelines that have already been passed, and spring turkey season for spring 2026. Now, there was some talk about biological sustainability concerns, which will be reevaluated at the conclusion of their latest biological study in 2026. Got some thoughts on that. Hopefully, the discussion is robust and current science and the acknowledgement of wildlife management best practices around wild turkey take and their management, not just from around the country, but also Pennsylvania's neighboring states, and what that will do, or what that should do, for informing the Board of Commissioners and the director to implement full Sunday hunting in 2026 for the spring gobbler season. Certainly, our partners at NWTF will have something to say. So basically, with the commission getting to where they're at, they've got some time here over the remaining time months in 2025 to figure this out. Hopefully, the executive director will be able to implement the full Sunday hunting during the spring, but those discussions are yet to come. They have concerns with declining populations, what that means for wild turkey recruitment, where the first couple Sundays in Pennsylvania only go till noon. And again, most of the bordering states have Sunday hunting. Fair to say, wild turkeys don't know, appreciate, or respect political boundaries. So, again, I'm speaking in broad terms, but there are larger conversations to have, and it's something that's been wanted and been demanded by Pennsylvania residents for all this time, and now they've got it. And I would just say to not be timid and overthink this. You've got it, run with it, implement it, and then because of how the management system is set up with the board of commissioners and with the executive director working in tandem with the professionals on the ground and part of the PGC, you can always scale back, adjust seasons, adjust take if the current science on the ground is showing that a couple extra half day Sundays is negatively affecting wild turkey recruitment. Again, I think there's other solves for this. And, as they come and those discussions are had, we will definitely report on it. For now, congratulations. We're so excited for the residents of Pennsylvania to enjoy a full hunting season during this fall, as well as the non resident hunters who come in and enjoy that as well. Obviously, there will be discussions on the waterfowl season for 2026, and there's almost a full year plus on that discussion. How the compensatory dates will either extend or stay the same, but obviously, when that decision is made, we will report and let you know. So for now, game on in Pennsylvania, and guys get to enjoy your Saturday and Sundays, and hopefully that'll do a whole lot for the young folks out there and the hardworking folks of Pennsylvania to get back out there. Moving on, Shark Act introduced in the Senate. We've reported on this numerous times, and basically what this act will do, 2314, it'll establish a task force to explore opportunities to minimize the interactions between sharks and anglers. If you've not heard the reporting on this, basically this is brought about uh, by by sharks getting a free snack, ruining the fishing experience for recreational fishermen as they're reeling in their catch. Sharks are coming up and having themselves a free meal. So how do we mitigate the depredation from sharks while we're out there fishing without harming the sharks? And that's what this Shark Act will do and establish. Now, this was introduced in the Senate last week by U.S. Senator Rick Scott of Florida and Congressional Sportsman Caucus member Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii. It's a bipartisan bill, and it is moving fast in the Senate with a markup scheduled for today as this podcast drops, Wednesday, the 30th of July. CSF applauds Senator Scott and Schatz for getting the bill rolling towards solutions in the Senate and looks forward to ensuring the bill becomes law in the 119th Congress. We head to Nebraska, where they are considering an increase in mountain lion harvest. Over the past couple of years, the mountain lion population in Nebraska has increased and is healthy. With that increase in population, Nebraska has been working on increasing opportunities for hunters to hit the field and engage with the mountain lions as part of a wildlife management plan. Since 2023, the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission has approved 2 new mountain lion hunting units, increasing the total number of units to 3. Rather, the Game and Parks Commission is now considering increasing the total number of mountain lions that can be harvested in the Niobrara Niobrara unit. Management decisions like increasing total harvest limit help to maintain a healthy mountain lion population that is balanced with habitat and other game and non-game species. CSF supports the science-based management decisions for sustainable harvest and increased hunting opportunities. Before 2023, Nebraska only offered mountain lion hunting in the Pine Ridge unit. In November of 2023, Nebraska Game and Parks Commission opened the Niobrara unit, Niobrara unit, and in 2024 they opened the Wildcat Hills unit. Game and Parks Commission is considering Regulation 3281, which would increase the number of mountain lions that can be harvested in the new unit. In recent years, some states have taken aim at mountain lion hunting and have attempted to completely outlaw the hunting of mountain lion. Nebraska has done the opposite and opened the 2 new hunting units. Prior to the new hunting units being opened, the Pine Ridge, as we said above, was the only unit where mountain lion could be taken. In 2023, the Niobrara unit was opened, and in 2024, the Game and Parks Commission approved the opening of the Wildcat Hills unit. With increasing and healthy populations, the Game and Parks Commission is considering 3281, which would increase the total number of lions that can be harvested. Currently, the total number of mountain lions that can be harvested in the new unit is 4, with a sublimit of 2 females. The proposed regulation will increase to 6, with a sublimit of 3 females. Increasing the total number of mountain lions that can be harvested increases the opportunity for more hunters to hit the field. Science based management decisions like increasing total harvest numbers help to maintain a healthy cat population that is balanced with the habitat available in other game and non game species. CSF will continue to support legislative and regulatory initiatives to provide increased hunting opportunities to leverage sportsmen and women's capacity for providing wildlife management that benefits both livestock and game and non game wildlife species. If the science bears it out, folks, we gotta wrap our heads around cats and bears and other predators are part of this food chain, part of the ecosystem, and require management. And as we've discussed through the North American model of wildlife management, hunters play a critical role in that model and are the preferred method of management. So while you have items like Prop 127 that was defeated soundly in Colorado in the last election cycle, and other Western states trying to outlaw hunting of these more charismatic, cuddly critters, as they'd have you believe, is the antithesis of our wildlife management structure in our country. And the big cats are not exempt from that. So hats off to Nebraska for heading that off and instituting. I mean, this is very limited. There's not a lot of cats being taken off the landscape here. So if it helps the population health, if it helps avoid human cat interactions, helps with the depredation of livestock, and creating another mess for these cats. That's all positive. Let's head over to Wyoming, where the Game and Fish Commission rejected landowner tag revisions. Private landowners manage approximately 43% of Wyoming's landmass, serving as a vital partner for the wildlife conservation and public access to recreational opportunities. On July 15th of 2025, the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission heard testimony from hunters, landowners, and legislators on the proposed changes to landowner tag rules. The diverse testimony highlighted the delicate balance between landowner relations, wildlife management, and public hunting access. Nearly 100 stakeholders shared testimony during the July 15th commission meeting as commissioners reviewed a proposal on updates to existing landowner tag qualifications. Senator Laura Pearson shared testimony with the commissioners explaining the intent of her bill, Senate Bill 118, which would set the stage for this discussion during the legislative session. CSF advocates for the collaborative solutions that enhance the North American model of wildlife conservation and its adherence to the public trust doctrine. As previously reported, the debate over private ownership of wildlife is among the most difficult in our space. The balance between supporting landowners who provide vital wildlife habitat and public access opportunities while maintaining adherence to the public trust doctrine creates a delicate tightrope walk for each state fish and wildlife agency. This debate was highlighted during the July 15th commission meeting as they considered the proposed revisions for the state's landowner tag system. During the hearing, one commissioner highlighted that access and conservation funding conundrum in which Wyoming is increasingly seeing draw units become limited almost solely to landowners, thereby eliminating public access to draw opportunities. CSF supports the incentive-based programs like Wyoming Access Yes, which compensates landowners for allowing public hunting access, fostering positive relations while preserving wildlife as a public resource. These voluntary programs, also seen in states like Montana and Colorado, enhance habitat conservation and hunter opportunities without privatizing wildlife through tag sales. CSF opposes the sale of transferable tags as they risk violating the sanctity of the public trust doctrine by allowing individuals to profit from a limited access opportunity to public trust resource on the basis of land ownership. This concern was highlighted by a member of the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission when it was noted that as mule deer draw tags number decrease, the limited tags are now going exclusively to landowners in some units under the current regulation. After a heated debate, the commission rejected the proposed changes, maintaining the current landowner tag allocation system. However, this conversation is far from over and will continue during the interim legislative committee meetings. CSF strongly supports the North American model of wildlife conservation, which in part emphasizes wildlife as a public trust resource accessible to all. We also highlight the value contributions made by wildlife conservation and habitat made by private landowners. CSF is committed to working with partners, fish and wildlife agencies, and legislators to develop solutions that balance access and conservation, recognizing the rights and contributions of private landowners and ensuring Wyoming's wildlife remains a public trust for all. Certainly a unique to us in the East, but it's a different way of doing business out there in the West. And you hear about these transferable tags and then selling them off, and it is I don't know how to put it. It's like it kind of cheapens the whole thing, and then profiteering off of a draw that so many people are putting into. You get it, and then all of a sudden you're turning a net profit. I don't know. Ethically, it's a bad look. It's not a great way of handling that. So hopefully some change comes about. There are other states in the East that have similar situations, especially when it comes to professional guides and allocation of certain tags like bear. And you gotta address this stuff, especially where, as Marie in her article highlighted, that this is a publicly held resource, and folks getting extra tags because they're in the business. I don't know. It's not a good look. We'll say that and leave it there. And hopefully we get some updates on improvements on that. A quick update here from Delaware. We've reported multiple times on improvements via Senate Bill 108 for knife utilization. It repeals the requirement by amending the language of the statute, removing that it must be a folding knife, increases the maximum blade length to 3.75 inches in length, and removes the prohibition and penalties surrounding switchblades, mechanically open or assisted knives. So this is going to roll all that back, and that has been sent to the governor's desk and awaits a signature. So it's gone through the whole process here, and we're just kind of waiting on that. Governor Meyer's office has it, and we encourage the adoption of an enactment of Senate Bill 108 and clear up some antiquated language and laws around knives, commonly used tools. All right, last story here. CSF hosts Southern Legislative Forum and reception for NASC members. The Southern Legislative Conference brings together state legislators from across the Southeast in conjunction with the SLC, the National Assembly of Sportsmen's Caucuses, NASC, and the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation host an annual reception to provide state legislators and our partners with an opportunity to reflect on the year's legislative session and the issues impacting sportsmen and women across the region. This year's policy reception, held in Birmingham, Alabama, was a resounding success with over 100 attendees from at least 11 different southern states. NASC Executive Council President, Representative Jeff Wardlaw of Arkansas, and NASC Executive Council member and past President, Senator Robin Webb of Kentucky, welcomed their legislative colleagues, spoke to the importance of our shared sporting traditions, and encouraged them to get further involved with the NASC network, including attending this year's 22nd annual NASC Sportsman Legislator Summit being held in Memphis. CSF staff spoke about the need for proactive policy approaches across the region, touching on examples from other states such as South Carolina, Georgia, and Louisiana that saw legislation or regulation pertaining to no net loss, hunter education in schools, or updating primitive weapon definitions. A little history here. In 2004, National Assembly of Sportsmen's Caucuses was created by CSF to provide the structure necessary to protect and advance hunting, angling, recreational shooting, and trapping, and professional fish and wildlife management in the state capitals. 21 years later, NASC is comprised of more than 2,000 state legislators from all 50 states, having the opportunity for our attendees to share recent policy successes and lessons learned from their states with other from across the region is a valuable opportunity to strategically collaborate on the advancement of our shared outdoor sporting traditions. To touch on some of the items discussed at this year's event, CSF spoke on current efforts by CSF and the South Carolina Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus to limit the loss of available acreage open to hunting. That is House Bill 3872. That very bill will await action in the Senate during the 2026 legislative session after passing the House unanimously in 2025. Additionally, CSF staff spoke to another current effort happening in Georgia through House Bill 451, which would allow public schools to offer hunter safety education courses in grades 6 through 12. Again, this is a CSF-led effort in coordination with the Georgia Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus. House Bill 451 awaits action in the Senate floor during the 2026 legislative session after passing the House and Senate committee nearly unanimously. Lastly, CSF staff spoke to the recent success in Louisiana, where we worked with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, as well as commission to update their primitive weapons definition to allow for the use of advancements in muzzle loading technology, such as the fire stick, increasing access and opportunity for hunters in Louisiana. CSF thanks the members of the NASC network for attending, as well as our sponsors for this year's event: DU, Pheasants Forever, Coastal Conservation Association, Alabama chapter of the National Wild Turkey Federation, Delta Waterfowl, and SCI. Sounds like a great event. And thank, obviously, all who supported. Job well done to Mark Lance and his group down there. That is the news for this week. We're glad you came along. We're glad you're tuning in and your support and the continuing of your listenership and sharing this product, this show far and wide. Tomorrow, no feature tomorrow. I would invite you to go back and listen to last week's show. This was kind of a full representation accounting of R3, talking with national R3 practitioners, an example of state level R3 implementation and strategy, and then bringing on another guest who is heavily involved in mass market media and getting their perspective on how they see hunting and it being represented in the public. And also through that mass media market via terrestrial radio and streaming, our guest, Greg Kretschmar, will talk about a segment that they do on their radio program that airs Monday through Friday, 5:30, 10 p.m. in the New England market. And they host New Hampshire Fish and Game conservation officers, and they come in and talk about all, fish and game law, situation scenarios, wildlife management, and hunting, and what that has done in our region for the general public to normalize what we do, who we are, our community, and the benefit we provide to the mass majority of all the residents, right? So, really great episode. It's a long one, so if you want to break it up by guest and segments, first guest with Tanaya from Cass, about a 51-minute deal there. And then we turn to PGC's Courtney Bronze, another about 30-minute block there. And then we rounded out with Greg from the radio program, Greg in the Morning Buzz, towards the end. So you can dissect it and go hear what you want to hear. But it's a good show, and I encourage you to listen to it here in the off week. Next week, we're gonna be back on schedule with our feature, and we will be covering Rigs to Reef again with Chris Horton and Kevin Bruce of Arena Energy, and we're talking about the release of a documentary surrounding Rigs to Reef program, surrounding the Gulf and the oil rigs that are out there and what that's doing for the environment. It's just, really great documentary that most people should go check out. But anyway, we're gonna highlight all that next week, next Thursday, and more cool shows to come throughout the rest of the year. So we're gearing up for hunting seasons. Can't believe it. Tomorrow, again, as this podcast drops, is August. No, it's 31st. So we're a day away from August 1st, and some of the first seasons of the year coming in for August. Thinking doves, thinking early velvet buck seasons in the South. So we're stepping into it, and then full on in a month, I would say. So hope your preparation is going well. Hope you're enjoying the remaining days of the summer and keeping things safe. And heck yeah, we're looking forward to the back half of the year, or a little less than that, and getting a field wherever you're at. That's gonna do it. Appreciate you again tuning in. Always, like I say, go to congressionalsportsman.org, congressionalsportsman.org. Sign up for the print edition of the Sportsman's Voice. Utilize the tools there, all the in-app links, or in article links, and do a deeper dive on the articles and the news we're reporting on, as well as signing up for tracking the capitals. These are all free to you. These are all great resources and only serve to help you and have a more informed set of members, of legislators, and the public as well who are tuning in. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. We will see you next Wednesday. So long. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.